Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I think need to be talked about more. Tonight's film is 1984's Hollywood Hot Tubs. This is the VHS cover. There it is. Let's get a nice close-up of that. VHS cover. This is the Vestron VHS of this film. And this was the date on the back of the VHS is 1984. Look at that nice big solid photo on the back, and on the front, beautiful artwork that you just don't see nowadays for films. And then definitely the sexploitation horror films of the 70s and 80s was the heyday. Look at that. And you can actually pinpoint all different characters and situations from the film within that artwork, which is also very rare. Hollywood Hot Tubs. There it is, 1984. This is a film about a guy who's a young guy, you know, who's kind of getting himself into trouble. He's on his way to jail, pretty much. And his probation officer gives him a choice, and he decides to work for his uncle's plumbing business. And the uncle's plumbing business, basically, there's some people that work there. There's a guy, there's a girl, there's of course the uncle, and they get into all of these different work situations for all the different places that they fix plumbing for, including a brothel spa 80s type of place called Hollywood Hot Tubs. And the film documents the relationships and the adventures and the wildness of their job. And also the lead character, who's on probation, kind of his development as well. Here we go. Horny, vulgar old ladies who want to have orgies. Video games. Orgasmic video games. A biker gang. A mute biker. Homosexual brothel, an Asian massage parlor. We also have in this film Jewel Shepard from the film I reviewed on this page, Christina. She plays in this film a very bizarre, spacey, weird Valley Girl dialect with her boobs almost coming out of her shirt, very perky and bouncing constantly throughout the film, speaking weirdly. My gosh, what else do we have in this film? There is the mariachi band. There's a monkey that drinks and smokes, I think. There's a monster. There's a horror movie actor who... Is he dead? Is he Dracula? There are so many different elements to this film. It's a wild, very actually funny, hilarious ride. 1984's Hollywood Hot Tubs. This is a film that, as a title, might be more known to certain groups of people, even though they might not have seen it yet. But this is a film that's authentically funny, entertaining, filled with energy, an 80s time capsule. And it's a film I almost think in some ways would help, would kind of be for some people who don't typically like teen sex comedies, sexploitation, weird hijink films from the 80s. Because this one might entertain them a little bit as well. Because this is a film filled with characters, situations, adventures, weirdness and wildness, okay? And actually good acting, great relationship chemistry between the characters. There's actually some sentimental moments in this film, actually. You also have a love story in the mix. You have don't forget the girls softball team, or the girls soccer team in the film, in the hot tub, the whole team. There are so many different situations in here, and it's so evident from films like this how rich these films are, and how sexploitation or / teen sex comedy as a genre is the one genre nowadays that really doesn't get any respect. These movies are getting lost. They're not getting to DVD or Blu-ray, and it's a genre of cinema that still nobody knows about or cares about. Whereas, thankfully, the horror genre, no matter how underground the films are from long ago, 70s, 80s, 60s, there's fan sites for everything now. Everybody knows every horror film now. You'll see t-shirts for the most obscure horror films. But this genre still yet to be touched. And we're touching it. I'm touching it. part of this YouTube page. Let's get to this film a little bit. Let's get to the music of this film first. The music, like for most of these types of sexploitation, teen sex comedy films, looks like the music, sounds like the music was made specifically for this film, maybe from the director's friend or a local band, and the music is top notch. If you like 80s pop, 80s rock, 80s pop rock, you're gonna love the music in this film. Very electronic synth, guitars, drums, and it's just so catchy and so like powerful and gives you a punch. Really, really great stuff. We also got a mix of score in this film. Because this film is such a mashup of stuff, we actually have horror score in this film. We actually have authentic suspenseful scenes in this film, like one or two in particular, with all of a sudden dark, scary horror music. Really bizarre stuff. And so you have a nice variety of this music here. Now, stylistically, because there's such a mashup in this film, of course you're getting the beautiful Hollywood Hills, you're getting the California sunrise, or the California sunsets, should I say, and the sun glare. But you're also getting, kind of different types of atmosphere, like when we go into the horror actors world, or when we go into all the different brothels in the film, from the gay man's brothel to the Asian massage parlor brothel to the Hollywood hot tubs area. You're getting all these different kind of atmospheres and locations, and they all look to be authentic locations as well. To the backyard of a beautiful swimming pool. So there's just great. It feels like California, and you're definitely there. There's a couple great shots in the film that stood out to me. One between this guy's legs, looking at a girl on about to jump into a pool on a diving board, that reminded me of Between the Legs and Jess Franco's Devil Hunter, which I recently reviewed. And there's also a great shot of this guy. Just one time the fade happens, this guy's turning his steering wheel of his car, and the fade actually goes like that. Along the way of the steering wheel. So some stuff like that. And of course we got some video games in the film, orgasmic video games, as I said previously. And in terms of, what would this film be, the genre of this film? I mean, essentially a teen sex comedy, but some of the characters in this film are adults as well. And yes, we do have a lot of 80s Valium pill popping in this film as well, and some alcohol. This is a film sexually that's mostly topless nudity, and all shapes and sizes, but mostly of the bigger variety, and all natural. That's right, everything is natural. This is the time period, folks, and it's a beautiful thing. Natural bodies. We do have some full nudity, but you don't see the front. You might see a little bit of the back for men and women. We have one real sex scene in the film that takes place in a hot tub, and it's under the water, and it's underwater photography, so there's some stylistic cinematography there with the bubbles and taking off of the bottoms and the tops for the girl. This is a film that and I would say it's actually erotic. It's actually that hot tub scene was actually pretty sexual, pretty erotic, and all the women in the film that are topless, all attractive, all sexually attractive, all look great. Everybody looks great, and there is just there's a very wild kind of vibe. There's some S&Ms, there's like an S&M scene, and there's some pretty wild stuff involving topless nudity, like suck on this or lick this, or it's some wild topless nudity, okay? And the sex scene in the hot tub is actually pretty steamy. Pretty steamy. Older woman, younger guy. There's an older guy, younger woman. There's all this different kind of wild stuff in here. And there's a lot of very interesting plumbing hijinks, so to speak. Some interesting plumbing business rules. Some hot tub you learn a little bit about the hot tub ins and outs and business rules and the way that they do what they do. Very interesting. And hot tubs were really huge in the 80s, especially for the wealthier suburban people. And this, like I said, this is a time capsule of the 80s, between the hot tubs, between the Valium pill taking. This is really, you're really getting it here, but you're also getting some doses of exploitation with the biker gang and possible fights. The last 20 minutes of this film is so action, wild, chase, party, mariachi band insanity that it's just insane. I mean, you can't even you can't even process all the wildness that's going on at such a party. And the closing credits of the film are a real party. You got to read the closing credits. It's one of those types of deals where there's a lot of fun and a lot of it's a lot of humor and just a lot of you could tell they were having a good time making this movie, and they wanted you to also. As I look at the cover of this film, it really does represent all of the different aspects of and different characters of this film, and what great artwork it is. You have so many different characters, and the film represents that. Look at that. Look at the horror guy there. Isn't that weird? We got cops, we got probation officers. We have very politically incorrect stuff in this film as well in terms of gender and sexuality. It says in the back here, Hollywood Hot Tubs is wacky, unpretentious, and funny. The Los Angeles Times. You know, this is a film that probably wouldn't be made today because people would be in an uproar in 2016 over some scenes, over some characters, over some situations. Hollywood Hot Tubs has a lot of heart. And like I said, there's a lot of chemistry in the film, and it's also wild and sexual, and there is some wild dialogue, sexual dialogue in the film as well, and some really well-written, scripted, funny lines and dialogue as well. This is really authentically, I thought this was really well written in the way that it's done. This is kind of this movie kind of has a quality to it in the writing and in the winks and the nods and in the humor that you don't typically see maybe in this genre. So it's very, very interesting. It's almost like it's straddling, you know, bigger budget territory, but this is definitely, you know, this is still a low budget film. The characters are great in this film. I don't know how much more to emphasize that, especially the lead characters. They're interesting, their chemistry is interesting, and they're really, really, you know, they're great to watch. This is a film that is a party. It is wild, and there's a lot of interest in there as well. This is Hollywood Hot Tubs 1984. Put out by Vestron VHS. I believe there's a DVD copy of this. I don't know how legit it is. There's not the original cover artwork, unfortunately, but I believe it is out there. But you can get the VHS tape for pretty cheap used on Amazon or eBay. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like this one. Feel free to check out all my other reviews in this page, from sexploitation, exploitation, weird, bizarre, of course, horror. It's all here. Erotica, adult, all of it. Jess Franco, a healthy dose of Jess Franco. And please feel free to check out my own personal films at youtube.com/poopy diarrhea. Thank you, and good night.